morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Swannanoa Valley here in Black Mountain, North Carolina, through our virtual online services. My name is Robert Tynes and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. It's Sunday, October 4th, 2020. Welcome to October. And we are still in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. We thank you for joining us, and we hope that you are all staying safe and well. All are welcome here, and as we like to say, we need not think alike to love alike. As a reminder, our Sunday service starts now on both Facebook and YouTube at 10:45 a.m. and as always, they can be accessed at any time through our Facebook page or the YouTube link in the current newsletter, which, by the way, you should all be receiving through email. If not, contact the church and we'll get you on the email list. Today, I have an announcement again from the Social Action Committee.
UUCSB is still holding a sack collection for the homeless. You can bring new warm socks to my back porch at 101 West College Street, Black Mountain, starting today and ending on October 18th. All right, or you can also bring to another collection box at church. That will be there on Wednesday, October 7th, and Wednesday the 14th between 11:30 and 12 noon. Also, Kate Ramsey and I will pick up your donation if you can't deliver it. Thank you so much from the Social Action Committee.
Please check the current newsletter for more detailed information on this. Today's service is going to be a very special and timely one with Pana Columbus talking about returning to sanity, kindness, and respect. Shelley Fromm will be reading from The Velveteen Rabbit for our chalice lighting, and some of my favorite music has been chosen for the hymns and postlude. And if you tune in to the RE Story Time link on at 12 noon, you'll get to hear about the life of the great artist Frida Kahlo from the book Frida, read by our own RE director Susan Enright Hicks. And don't forget to join us for the Zoom coffee hour at 11:30 or right after the service by following the link in the current newsletter. And now, let the service begin.
Our opening words are from The Velveteen Rabbit by Marjorie Williams. It takes a long time to become real. That's why it doesn't happen often to people who break easily, or have sharp edges, or have to be carefully kept. Generally, by the time you're real, most of your hair has been loved off, your eyes drop out, and you get loose in the joints. Very shabby. But these things don't matter at all because once you're real, you can't be ugly. Except, of course, to people who just don't understand.
This is hymn number 38, Morning Has Broken.
This is the time in our service for joys and concerns and sorrows. All we ask is that you be brief so that the service just kind of flows. Thank you.
Shelley asked that we be brief, and we received no joys or concerns this week, so I would say that was quite brief. However, I would like to have a joy of my own. Carolyn Shorkey has volunteered to help produce our weekly services, and we had a training session on Saturday, and I'm very excited to help her learn a new skill and to help broaden our community input for our weekly services. So thank you, Carolyn.
For today's meditation, there are 4 fragments from the Gospel of Thomas and 5 fragments from the teaching of Don Juan. Just think about it, if you would. It's all you have to do for the meditation. This is the excerpt from the Gospel of Thomas. There is nothing hidden which will not become manifest. There is light within a child of light, as he or she lights up the world. The kingdom is inside of you, and it's outside of you. When you come to truly know yourself, you will realize that it is you who are the living children of the divine. Now closer to home, in the southwest section of this country, here are 5 fragments from the teachings of Don Juan. There is more to us than meets the eye. We don't need anyone to teach us because there's really nothing to learn. The only question is, does this path have heart? If this path has heart, then you're sure to know that it's a once and true and beautiful path. Yes, by virtual popular demand, she is indeed back among us. Currently, she is the interim executive director for Under One Sky Village Foundation, a mentoring community of support for youth in foster care. She's also an award-winning playwright and has been using the arts to generate community transformation since the year 2000. Her book, She Wore Blue, Invoking the Water, and Roadmap to Miracles can be found at Malaprop's bookstore in downtown Asheville. She drives an all-electric Chevy Bolt and is happy to tell anyone more than they want to know about why they should drive one too. She often comes here and puts up a sign sheet offering tea and consultation at some secret rendezvous, focusing on whatever currently touches her heart and soul. More often than not, she will burst into an original song a cappella, so you better hang on to your hats. Anyway, would you gather all the ever-loved vibes you can muster and give a fond welcome to the incomparable Pana Columbus.
Good morning. The title of my talk this morning is The Journey Back from Us and Them. It's fun to be pre-recording this talk. It's kind of like sending you a message in the bottle, not knowing who will be there on the other end to receive it. It's kind of mysterious. I hope you've all been well since last we've seen each other and continue to be well until we finally do. When you listen to this, as I understand it, it will be Sunday, October 4th, which is one day before my 50th birthday. My wish for my 5th decade is integration. There is a Buddhist practice called touching the earth. It is a meditation that makes statements such as, I am the budding, opening plum blossom, and I am the wilting, dying plum blossom. I am the forest of trees that is being cut down, and I am the person cutting down the forest. The purpose of the meditation, as I understand it, is to help us connect with how we really are one with the whole world. We are connected to all the joy in the world, and we're connected to all the suffering. This is a useful perspective because it can be easy to fall into the trap of blaming others for the suffering of the world. And although it may feel tempting to blame half the population of the United States for our current state of affairs, this state of blame is a slippery slope toward the pit of self-righteousness. There is another way. When we look at the big problems of the world, war, poverty, social injustice, environmental degradation, this touching the earth practice infers that these things are not happening out there because of those people. It's not the corporations, the military-industrial complex, or certain politicians that are the problem. Nor is it whoever we might be tempted to think it is acceptable to mock or hate at the present moment. My teenage daughter and her friend and I stopped by an Ingles the other day, and they saw two grocery clerks who had thick Southern accents. Behind their backs, my daughter's friend started mocking the boys. I told her to stop. She said, as if this explained everything, she knows that they're Trump supporters. I asked her if she had ever been mocked. Badly, she said. How did it feel? Excruciating, she said. What are the chances that someone would consider a more progressive point of view if their experience of progressives was that they mocked them? I told her that I've been noticing that progressive comedians, if they want to portray someone as stupid, for sure portray them with a Southern accent. Did she think that would make them feel a respectful curiosity about a different perspective? Would that encourage dialogue or a healthy discourse of any kind? I was greeted with a flood of anger about how people like them feel about Black people, the gay community, women, etc. I told her that anger is justified as we witness racism, homophobia, and misogyny day after day. Anger signifies that a boundary has been violated. But does mockery, does cruelty of any kind get her what she wants, which is to be treated with kindness and respect? Or does it perpetuate the cycle of pain and cruelty? So that's an interpersonal transaction about a teenage girl and her feelings about some kids working at Ingles. Let's look at an institution that we love to hate. Let's look at our feelings toward big oil, for example. In the course of our lives, we might have protested fracking for gas, the war in Iraq, or drilling in the National Arctic Wildlife Refuge. But we are still paying the oil company to heat our homes, and we're still pumping gas each week in our cars. We are part of the system that demands war in the Middle East and environmental degradation for our fuel. The good news is that if we want to create heaven on earth, we don't have to transform anyone out there. We have to transform ourselves. Gandhi gave us a true teaching. Be the change that you want to see in the world. He taught us that the secret to manifesting heaven on earth is to stop participating in the systems that cause suffering and to direct our energy instead into new systems that create peace. So Gandhi's credited with overthrowing the British government in India. So how did he do that? Simple, tangible action rooted in spiritual principle. For example, he was participating in British colonialism, he realized, by wearing British-made suits. He was an attorney. He studied law in England, and he wore respectable British-made clothing until he realized this touching the earth principle, that he was participating in the system of oppression in this way. He was part of the problem. Until he said to himself one day, I will not wear British-made clothing. It is hypocrisy to want freedom from the British and then to pay them for their factory-made clothing. There is no beauty in wearing clothes that make people suffer, because the Indians who used to grow the cotton, the indigo, etc., they were now out of a job. So he built a big bonfire and he burned his British-made clothing. And thousands of people gathered to burn their British-made clothing. And Indians started weaving their own cloth again on their own looms. It was a series of these small, tangible acts of independence that overthrew the British Empire by lovingly, calmly, deliberately refusing to participate in the systems that were causing suffering. This is why my key word for my 50s is integration. I believe in the integration of spiritual principles and tangible action. I believe in having a spiritual practice, certainly, but the fruits of awareness and consciousness in how I am one with all beings tells me that if I want to relieve suffering, evolving my awareness and consciousness is only one part of my practice. The other part is using that awareness to make tangible behavior choices that eliminate my participation in systems that cause suffering, and instead contribute to new systems that create peace. For example, I bought a Chevy Bolt. It has 240-mile range, all electric. It was a tangible step toward weaning myself off of fossil fuels. I'm closing on a house this week. I'm buying my very first home, kind of like a 50th birthday present to myself. First thing I need to do is to figure out how to insulate it. And then I need to figure out how to get solar panels on there. And what the heck are my options for heating that don't involve gas or oil anyway? In my experience, the greatest challenge to stopping participation in systems that cause suffering, it's not the expense and it's not the difficulty. It's the time it takes to figure out what the new system is. It takes time. It's confusing. I knew how to buy a conventional car. Then I had to figure out how to live with an electric one. It's a whole new way of life, and it takes time to figure out. Thank goodness there are pioneers before us, ready to help us make the changes. And for each change that we make, we can help others make theirs. In light of the Black Lives Matter movement, how are we part of the problem? And how do we, not just with awareness and consciousness, but with our behavior, stop participating in the systems that perpetuate racism? Well, since George Floyd's murder, I've been asking myself that question. What I've come up with so far is the clothes that I wear. From what I've been reading, about 80% of our clothing is made in sweatshops in third world countries. So people are getting paid slave wages in unspeakably difficult situations so that I can wear inexpensive clothing. This also puts Americans who used to work in the textile industry out of a job, and contributes to a low-paying service economy instead of a higher-paying manufacturing one. So I've been engaged in a slow, deliberate, painstaking process of figuring out how I can create one perfect shirt. A shirt that has caused only joy in the growing of the fiber and the dye, the weaving of the material, and the sewing of the fabric. Again, it's not the expense or the difficulty in creating one perfect shirt that is the real problem. It's the amount of time it takes to figure out the new system. But once you have the awareness and consciousness that our choices are causing suffering in others, if we want to create peace on earth, that is our road. I am the child working in a sweatshop, and I am the owner of the sweatshop. Whether we're talking about ourselves as individuals, how we show up in our relationships, or the choices that the groups we are part of make, taking a self-focus on how we are contributing to the suffering of the world can seem much less fun than blaming others, but it's actually much more interesting and invites much more creativity into our lives. When we blame others, we give all our power away. And when we cultivate our own awareness of how we are contributing to the problem and then take action, we discover how powerful we really are. Thank you. Now, Shelley said that I spontaneously burst into song on occasion, so don't want to disappoint. And typically I've been writing songs for you all, and today I'm just going to sing an invocation for integration. So if you'd like to focus your attention on the center of your heart, and imagine what awareness in union with action might look like in your life, I invite you to do so. Kain mai sadhu hajandam samahi bahi ma heyo keba sema Hey ma jaye hasanye hagobei madhu kaye hajandem sabi nadu hey boye Seba Chemayan Kebai An
This is hymn number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
And here's the final reading by Christopher Loge. Come to the edge. We might fall. Come to the edge. It's too high. Come to the edge. And they came, and he pushed, and they flew. So, rise and shine, and take a leap of faith, do some good, and while you're at it, have a great afternoon.